Today we're talking about when we are in the change from one age to another, because that is where we are. It's a very rare, unique, interesting energy space to be in, and I'm guided to bring you some thoughts and some visuals and some energetics to work with this. So we're going to work with the visual of the specific triple spiral that I've been using in a couple of my visuals, and which I have linked to a version that you can access and download for yourself in the show notes. And if you're getting here super fast and it's not on the show notes yet, just be patient. It'll come up very soon. And so in those show notes, I'm giving you two versions, a visual that is similar to the visual attached to this particular transmission episode that has the golden version for visual stimulation, and then also a plain one that you could print out on white paper and play with or draw with or color with as you see fit. So for now, look at whichever visual you have in front of you. And if you have found this through my website or through social media posts, or you're listening to it on Spotify, you'll be able to see the image right there as the cover. Unfortunately, the Apple podcast player doesn't let the images associated with an episode show up. So apologies for that. So we're looking at this triple spiral image, and we're going to hone in on one of the spirals for our sensation, our visceral experience today. I want you to sort of gently, loosely, with curiosity and an open, soft heart, start at the outside of one of these spirals, or just imagine drawing one with your finger on whatever surface is in front of you if you don't have the visual. And just take your finger and move it gently from the outside of the spiral around in a big circle in the spiral, following the line that starts to move in the spiral, moving inward, circling inward, spiraling towards the center. And as you feel this visceral experience moving into your being, we're going to zoom out into an incredibly full macro view on this cosmos. And we're going to remember that the original architect that created the architecture of fear did so solely to discover if he could, and then what could be done with it. It was an exploration of unique specialness and of exploration and expansion. And remember that this cosmos is defined by, is designed for differentiation, individuation, and the exploration of the many different unique expressions of the deep sacred current of life force that are actually infinitely expanding within this cosmos. There was nothing wrong or bad or malevolent in this original creation. It was an exploration. And over time, and it has its own, it follows the spiral. Everything follows the spiral. Everything follows the flow of the spiral from its creation. And in this case, the architecture of fear moved around began traveling its own big spiral on the outer realm of it, coming around in a circle, moving in more and more along the spiral. And as it did, it branched off many times, like a tree, branching off, branching off, branching off, branching off, creating all sorts of different versions of itself and building up on those versions like a coral reef, like barnacles on a boat. And on December 2nd of 2022, we came to the moment where this spiral of the architecture of fear had gone as fully into itself as it could go. It reached its endpoint, and the architect of it, the creator of it, agreed to dismantle it. And we worked with him, and he dismantled it within himself and began dismantling it throughout all of the different expressions that it was either the driving force of, or the underlying architecture for, or even just the forgotten underlying remnant of. And the untangling of that began a movement on looking back at our spiral image, starting to move out. So we start to move out into this new line of the spiral. We're not retracing our steps. If you look at the visual that I've shared with you, we don't retrace the line going back out. We have a new line that curves and bends and begins to swirl outward. And we are going to follow that line now. That is the new game, without the architecture of fear. And we are very much right at the very little center bud, the middle of this spiral image, and just barely beginning to move out. We had to sort of turn ourselves around and orient to this new line. If you can sort of imagine, it's not drawn here, but you can visually see and sense there's a dot, there's a point at which the line that went into the middle ended and transitioned to the line that will now go out. And so we've been in that little central sort of black hole space. And now we will start to travel out. And what I want you to understand most about this traveling out that we are doing is the way in which it has its own sort of like a gravitational pull that is pulling on us, pulling us out in the same way that there was a gravitational pull that was pulling us in. As we followed the spiral in, the gravitational pull got stronger and stronger. And we moved faster and faster, and the spiral turns got tighter and tighter. Now we're going to be pulled out. And as we get pulled out, we move out further and further, freer and freer, more and more open. But it is an inexorable movement. And nothing can come with us that is related to this architecture of fear. So anything that is within you, still, any agreements, any connections, any energetics that are within you, known or unknown, discovered or undiscovered, conscious or subconscious, they cannot come with you as you are moving out the spiral. And so a a pulling sensation, a tension sensation can begin to be experienced. These things are held back at the center point while you begin to move away, but if they are still in you or you're still holding on to them, you are increasingly being stretched. And it may not be you. You may be witnessing this happening in others, in your life. They may be physical beings that you are aware of, other humans, or they may be beings from the unseen worlds in this third dimension. But all are, if they are holding on to these things, are not having an experience of freedom, of lightness, of being. They are having a sensation of being pulled more and more. And this is in service to them letting go of those old pieces. But the movement out in the spiral is inexorable. And the harder those beings hold on to that which cannot come in this age, the more painful the pulling and stretching will be, until ultimately it will tear them apart if they refuse to let go. And in being torn apart, torn asunder, they will then be sent back to source, to the beginning, not of this spiral, not of this change of the ages, but all the way back to the beginning, to start over, which is also fine. Every being gets to choose its own experience in this cosmos. Letting go, or even identifying that which is holding the essences of this architecture of fear and therefore needing to be let go of, can be hard. It may be the hardest, most scary thing one might ever do. The courage is in you to do it. It is your choice. It is their choice. If this is within you, you don't have to understand, you don't have to have a mental model about what are these things, how do I let them go, how do I understand what they are. You can just simply choose. You can just simply choose to say, any aspects within me, within my being, any version of my being, in any lives, in any experiences, which hold the old architecture of fear, whether I am aware of them or not, known or unknown, discovered or undiscovered, are now ended, completed, removed, let go of, broken. Irrevocably, any transactions or agreements related to this are now revoked and concluded. And then begin to walk forward in the spiral. Feel yourself tracing the spiral moving outward, yourself traveling along it. Travel the spiral outward now. You are traveling in your future. And you can feel the frictionless movement of it, that it is smooth and easy, that it is light and pulls you along You do not need to make effort to travel it. It just carries you forward by its design. And where you feel the pulling, the tugging backwards, if any, that is just simply pieces that you still haven't let go of. And you can simply do this again and again, as many times as you need to remove them and release them. You may enjoy the experience of feeling them as weight that you are carrying, because you are moving, you are being pulled along the spiral, but you are being pulled back at the same time. So it's like trying to walk forward into a steep wind, right? Into a headwinds feeling. And this kind of things are pulling you back. But their time is over. Their time is done. And you may feel them as just weights that you're holding, and you can just drop them. Open your hands and just drop them. Visualize holding heavy weights in your hands and then opening your hands to let them fall. And now you are lightened and they are removed. If you are working with people in the world, in your personal, social, romantic, or professional relationships in any way, you may see some of this going on with others, even though you may not be feeling it in yourself. And you can share this with them, and if that doesn't feel helpful or appropriate, you can help them to be courageous. You can remind them what you see in them. We all long to be seen, to be perceived and received as we fully are, unencumbered by all that old dross. Meet them where they are at, not as you wish they would be. As you meet yourself where you are at, not where you wish you would be. Bring your love, bring your compassion, bring your understanding that the role is theirs and theirs alone to make these choices. You can do nothing other than to love as deeply and as fully as you are able, and express that love. Not everyone will make these choices at this time. And you will have to decide, will you try to stay back with them where they are with resisting the movement along the spiral? And this will create its own tearing and pulling within you, because the spiral will pull you out. And so you will have your own version then, beginning to feel the pulling of the spiral that says, come, 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 you must come now along the spiral with me into your future, as we think about time here in a more linear fashion. And this is your choice. So you will decide for yourself. Another image that may be useful is that of a yo-yo. When the yo-yo comes fully up into your hand, and you have that kind of feeling of like, remember when you were a kid and you would play with a yo-yo, and it would like, you'd finally have it, it would work, and it would just pop up the string, whoop, into the palm of your hand, and you would feel it like, so good, right in the center, totally wound up. That's that point that we hit, December 2nd, 2022. Day 1, day 0, really, the new game. And then the yo-yo starts to go out again. Nothing's going to stop it. Nothing's going to tangle it. Are you going to try to hold on to the knot where it's attached to the finger, or are you going to let it unfurl you out? We are all like baby fern fronds right now, beginning to unfurl, and out we go. This is what I wanted you to have, to work with, as we are in the very beginning of this new age. We are in year 1, and we are building our new foundation. And it's okay to hang out for a while in the middle of the spiral and get your bearings. The pull is very gentle. The gravitational feeling of it will build over time. But that feeling will not feel like you are being pulled on or stretched unless you are resisting it. If you are with it, it will just be carrying you outward. It'll just be the coolest ride ever. An easy slipstream carrying you along. And all beings, whatever they have done or experienced, however dark, however malevolent, however difficult, all have a clean slate now. All have a new, fresh beginning. Every single one of us. Any who choose to move forward and let this all go are granted complete absolution. Yes, even them. And I want you to know that there are resources here that you can use to help you or others that you might be working with on these processes of letting go and of clearing out. I want to refer you back to the cosmic right to purity. And even now, if you're feeling the desire to do so, you can invoke your cosmic right to purity. And for all that is not truly, purely your own soul to be removed from within your field now. You can work with this at any time. At any time. All right, beloveds. I think this is where today's spiral of talking ends. And I hope that you enjoy it. And I hope that you work with it. And I hope that you pass it along.